All right. All right. So creating the total number of periods per day. Like I said, we need to count every period here. I think a lot of people are requesting to record this session. But don't worry, once this is done, we are going to upload the recording on YouTube. So I'm just going to turn off the settings so it doesn't keep interrupting the session. Hold on. I want to turn off the setting of approving people requesting to record. Okay, so that is done. So counting the number of periods per day. So let's count this together. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in the sample period we are using, we have a total of 10 periods. And out of these 10 periods, we have 3 non-lesson periods. So I'm going to put total number of period here to be 10. And what is the start time of this period? The start time I'm seeing here is 7:50 a.m. So I'm just going to select 7 and the time 50. Then minutes per lecture period. So we are focusing on the lecture period now. And from what I can observe here, each period here is a total of 40 minutes. So you have 8:10 to 8:50, 8:50 to 9:30. So you don't need to worry if you have some periods that are not 40 minutes. There's a provision for that where you can where you can accommodate it. So for this sample, I'm going to use 40 minutes per lecture period. Then is there any lesson period overlap time? What that means is after the first period ends, is there any overlap time between when the period ends and the next period? Overlap time means once you finish a class now, is the next class starting immediately or students have like 5 minutes overlap time before the next class starts? But based on this, there is no overlap time, so I'm just going to enter 0. As it stands now, um, I have accommodated this timetable. So the only thing I need to add now is adding this non-lesson period, which is the assembly, snack break, and the lunch break. And to do that, I'm going to click on this button, add non-lesson period. Once I click on this, it's asking me, the system needs to identify of all 10 periods I've indicated here, which of them is the non-lesson period. So the question is asking now is, after what period is the first non-lesson period? And from what we can see here, the first period itself is the non-lesson period. So I'm going to say after period 0, that is when we have period 1, which is the first non-lesson period. And the duration I can see here, this is 7:50 to 8:10. So the duration is 20 minutes. Is there any overlap before or after? There's no overlap, so I'm going to put 0 after and 0 before. So what is the period name? The period name is assembly. So I'm just going to type that out. So I can also give this a color. Let me just give it a sky blue color. So I have added this non-lesson period. The next non-lesson period I want to add is the snack break. So I'm going to click on the non-lesson period button again. And where does the snack break falls under? After what period? And we can see it's after period 1, 2, 3. After period 3 is the snack break. So I'm going to put here 3. And what is the duration? Duration is also 20 minutes. And of course, we've established there's no overlap both before and after. And the period name is snack break. Then I'm going to give it also its own unique color. So let's use maybe green for this. Then the last non-lesson period we have is a lunch break. So I'm going to add another and indicate lunch break. So after what period? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So after period 7 is the lunch break. So I'm going to enter here 7. Duration for the lunch break is, this is 11:50 to 12:30. That's 40 minutes. Of course, no overlap. And the period name is lunch break. So I'm just going to give it the same color as the snack break. So I'm going to just copy this color code and paste it here. So now I have accounted for everything we can see on this period structure. So all I need to do now is to generate this timetable. I'm going to give you another example of where you have a different timing, probably some class or some days you don't have the same time. You can accommodate that. But let me generate the structure so we can all see what it looks like. So I'm just going to click on generate. So this has been generated. 50 periods has been created. So let's see if this looks exactly as what we have here. Before I go to the schedule view, I want to go to the timetable setup first and activate the timetable for the period we just created, which is this 2025. So I want to make it the default and save. So now I've done this, I'm going to open the manage schedule in a new tab. So let's just see the outcome of what we just created, if it looks exactly as what we have here. So I'm going to click on view. I'm just going to view for a particular class. So this is what we have. So we have 7:50 to 8:10, which is what we have here, 7:50 to 8:10, 8:10 to 8:50, 8:50 to 9:30, 9:30 to 9:50, which is the snack break. So, and the lunch break falls under 11:50 to 12:30, which is the same here. Then we also have the last period is 1:10 to 1:50, which is the same here. So successfully, we have recreated this period that we have on this sample. So I just want to make a little tweak. What if, so let me go back. What if you have a particular, maybe on a Friday, you have a period that does not align with the timings above. So let's make provision for that. I won't want to remove Friday, but let me just create a new period for, say, Saturday, for instance. And probably the same thing. Number of period per day is 10, and the period starts at 7:50. 7:50. Then minutes per lecture period is 40. There's no overlap time. So if I'm adding non-lesson period, after period 0 is the assembly. It's 20 minutes. No overlap before and after period assembly. And I'm going to just ignore the color. Let me just add another non-lesson period snack break. Oh, after period 1, 2, 3, 4. This is after period 4. 1, 2, 3. After period 3, sorry. Duration is also 20 minutes. Okay, I want to change the duration. Maybe this duration is 10 minutes. On Saturday, it's not 20 minutes as usual. It's 10, or change this to 10. And no overlap before and after period 1 is snack break. And probably there's no lunch break. Then the next thing I want to add is, if you don't want to use the general duration for all period, remember up here, we've indicated that every lecture period is 40 minutes. What if you have a particular lecture period that you want to exceed 40 minutes, or you want it to be below 40 minutes? That way, you come to add custom lesson period. Once I click on this, it asks me what period do I want to customize. If I select this, maybe I want to customize this period, which is the second period. I would say the second period, and maybe the second and third period, or select the third as well. So these two periods won't be the normal 40 minutes that the general other periods would have. I want it to be, say, 20 minutes. Or let me make it 60 minutes. And there's no overlap, 0, before and after. If I want to customize another period, I can add another one and say period 1, 2, 3, 4. Period 5 would be probably 20 minutes and not 40. So overlap time is 0 before and after. So what this means is every other lesson period will be 40 minutes, but this specific period, period 2 and 3, will both be 60 minutes, and period 5 will be 20 minutes. So this is how you can customize specific periods for specific days. So if I add this now and generate, remember I did this for just Saturday. So let's go to this view and see the outcome. So I'm just going to reload this page and view. Let me just view for a particular class. So if I scroll down here, you'd see this is what I created for Saturday. So you can see Friday, Saturday is separated because it has different timings. Saturday is 7:50 to 8, 8 to 9. You can see the first two periods is an hour because I indicated 60 minutes, which is different from the 40 minutes for other days I created. So basically, this is how you can create custom periods for specific days. So if you wanted to make Wednesday unique when creating the schedule for Wednesday, when creating the schedule for other days, I can remove Wednesday from this list and create for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then I'll create Wednesday separately and make it unique. So this is basically how you can do all of that. So now we've successfully created the period for the timetable. The next thing is to use the timetabler. I'm going to show you how you can use the timetabler to populate subjects into the timetable. So to do this, let me first of all delete this Saturday I created because we won't be using it. So it has deleted all the Saturday's record. So before I can go to the timetabler to generate my schedule for the periods I've created, I need to first come to the timetable setup. So you need to have some information, and the information you're supposed to have is, as a school that you want to generate timetable, you already know the amount of period each subject is supposed to have weekly. For instance, I have this document here, which I have indicated that each period, for instance, year 7 English should have 5 periods a week. Year 7 Maths, 5 periods weekly. Biology, they need to have 3 periods in a whole week. So you should have all of this information that you can use. Then also, you should also be able to know, do you have groupings in your in your school? For instance, the KS4 classes, the senior secondary classes. Do you use subject grouping? Are there subjects that you group together that when you have this grouping, the subjects must happen at the same time across different times in the week? For instance, maybe CRS and IRS must be happening at the same time. Anytime it falls on the timetable, they must go hand in hand. You have history, geography, basically your subject grouping. You can have a whole lot of groups. So once you've established all of this, then you can now use the information to create your schedule. But before that, on the timetable setup, you need to make sure that you have the enabled subject grouping turned on. And if you have grouping settings, you need to make sure that once the grouping is turned on, you need to select the subject group type as combined. Combined means that it will be able to help you do all of this combination. So once you turn this on and you save the settings, the next thing to do is to come to the subject group setup. This is where you create this group that you're seeing right now. So already I have created this group. To create the group, all you're doing is when you come here, you're clicking on new group. If I want to create a new group, maybe I can call this group 7, and what subjects do I want to add in group 7? You must not use this group name I'm using. You can use probably science group. Let me just call it science group instead, or science. And under science, I can add probably biology, physics, chemistry, and create. So I have created this group called science. So anytime I want to use this group, it's going to be used in the timetabler. So before you go to the timetabler to generate a timetable, make sure you've come to the settings. If you use group setup to set up all your groups. So I'm just going to delete this because I don't need this group based on what I want to do now. So now we are done with this group settings. We can now go to the timetabler proper to generate a timetable. And to do this, once you come to the timetabler, you just click on this, generate new timetable. So what title am I going to give to this? I'm going to just give it 2025 academic table. And once you give it a title, the next thing is to attach the period we just created. Remember, we just created a period, which is this one, 2025 academic timetable. So I'm going to attach the period to this timetable. Then I'm generating this for the high school. So once I've done this, I'm just clicking on add. So what we are going to do now, I'm going to show you how easy it is to generate timetable for the entire school. So I'm going to use this information I have highlighted here to generate timetable for the entire school. So we're just going to see how easy and straightforward this is. So to start off, I'm just going to click on add new lesson activity. So there are two ways you can create, you can add schedule from the timetable. Either you're adding this by teacher or you're doing it by subject. If you select by teacher, it means you need to select the teacher's name. You see the subject that teacher takes, then you just add the classes the teacher takes and you add it. But for me, I feel the easiest way to add schedules is using by subject. So if I select by subject, what subject am I adding for? English. So English for what class? I can select year 7. And here I can see year 7 does 5, they have 5 period in a week for English. Year 8 also have 5. Year 9 here also have 5. So basically what I can notice, year 10 has 6. What I can notice from this is year 7, 8, and 9, which is the KS3 classes, the lower secondary classes, have the same period count for all subjects in year 7, 8, and 9. Economics here in 7 is 1, for year 8 is also 1, and year 9, economics is also 1. So 7, 8, and 9 have the same period count. So meaning I'm just going to add the 3 classes here, which makes it easier for me to generate this timetable. So English 7, 8, and 9, they have 5 periods in a week. So periods per week. So it's now up to the school to determine out of these 5, how many is going to be double period and how many is going to be single period. So I'm going to make 2 double period. I'm going to then add 1 to the single period. So if you sum it up, it's 5. So minimum days, this means, minimum days basically means the number of intervals you want to have before the next class. For instance, if they have English on a Monday, do you want them to have English? Is it possible that they can have English on Tuesday? So that's the minimum days. But if you want to space it out, that after Monday, before they have English again, it's going to be probably Wednesday. I'll set the minimum day to be 2. But if you don't mind, you can just set it to be 1. It's always safer to just leave it 1. And you can make some constraints later on. So that is it. Then you always need to turn on this create a separate activity. The reason you're turning it on is you don't want the system to group 7, 8, and 9. If this is turned off, it means when you generate this, the same time year 7 is having English is the same time year 8 is also going to be having English. And the same time year 9 is going to be having English. So the reason I'm going to turn this on is I don't want that. I want the system to identify them as a separate activity. That the system can assign year 7 English to probably 8 a.m. and year 8 can be doing theirs at probably 9 a.m. or another day. So you just always need to turn this on if you don't want the system to group them together. So all I need to do now is click on add, and it has created that activity. So you can see what it created here. So I just need to also explain what you're seeing here to you. Then I'll just add the rest. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing 2 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 1 out of 5. It means in total there are 5 periods in a week. This is for year 7. And the first one they're having is a double period, which is 2 out of 5. And the next one they're also going to have is a double period, 2 out of 5. And the last is single period, 1 out of 5, which sums up to the 5 period per week. So the same thing for year 8 and 9. So let me just go ahead and add the other subjects. Then we'll see how the system generates this timetable. So for math, I'm going to do also for year 7, 8, and 9. Periods per week for math is also 5. So I'm going to do 2 double period and 1 single period. And I'm going to turn this on and add. It has created for, and the next is biology. Biology is 3 periods in a week. So I'm going to do for year 7, 8, and 9. So 3 periods a week. I'm going to do 1 is going to be single period and 1 is going to be double period. So that sums up to 3. Add. Then physics is also 3 for 7, 8, and 9. So this thing I'm doing is basically just generating, is going to generate the timetable for the entire 7, 8, and 9 easily. So within few minutes, I'll be done with this. So the next is chemistry. 7, 8, 9. Chemistry is also 3 periods. So 1 single period and 1 double period. So turn this on. Then we have geography. Geography is 2 periods in a week. Geography, 7, 8, 9. 2 periods in a week. So I'm going to make it 2 single periods. Then the next is history, also 2 periods a week. For 7, 8, and 9. So 2 single period. Then the next we have is literature. 7, 8, and 9. Literature is 2 periods in a week, so 2 single periods. Then we have ICT, 3 periods in a week. ICT for 7, 8, and 9. 3 periods in a week, so 1 single period and 1 double period. So you can make it all 3 single period. It depends on you. I'm going to add this. Then we have civic education is 1 period a week. Then the next we have is business studies, 1 period a week for 7, 8, and 9. Then we also have economics. That was the last one I did. Let me be sure. The last one I did was business studies. Okay. Then we also have economics. for 7, 8, 9. Also, economics is also one period a week. Then we have the group. So this is where the group subject comes into play. So they have CRS and IRS, 2 periods a week. So if I come to the subject and see group 1 is made up of CRS and IRS. So if I search for CRS, you see it brings out CRS as a subject, and it also shows you that CRS is part of a group. So you need to select which you want to use. So if I want to use just CRS as a subject, or select it as a subject and say year 7, 8, and 9 are doing just CRS, but I want to use the group. So either I search for the group name or search for any subject in that group. If I search IRS, the same thing I'll see. So I want to use the group. So I'll select this group, group 1, which is made up of CRS and IRS. So it is done twice in a week. So I'm going to make it 2 single periods. Then, oh, sorry, I didn't add, I didn't select, I didn't select the number of times I didn't save. Okay, so let me add that again. My subject, IRS, select the group 7, 8, and 9. We do it twice a week, so 2 single period. Create separately, add. Then for the last one, here is the group 3, which is the French and Spanish. I'll just search for French and add the group for 7, 8, and 9. Twice a week, 2 single period. So as it stands now, we are done basically. I can generate the timetable for the entire year 7, 8, and 9 because I have entered everything that is needed to do that. So to do the generation, sorry, let me expand this. All you need to do is click on generate. Once I click on generate, the system does its thing. Oh, sorry. So you can see there's an issue now. If the system fails to generate, it shows you what the issue is. And from what we are seeing here, it is telling me for year 7, the total period, it has is 35, but the subjects I've added for 7, 8, and 9 is 36, meaning I added one extra subject and there's no place to fit it in. So I just need to come back here to identify what that subject is under the lesson/activity. So looking at this, where is it? This is 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. This is correct. 2 periods a week. 7, 8, 9, also 2 periods a week. Economics, okay. I can see where the mistake is. I created economics twice. Economics is meant to be 1 period a week, but I created it for 7, 8, and 9 twice. So I'm going to delete this. 7. So let's generate this again. Generate. So can you see? The good thing about the software is once you try to generate and there's an issue, it fails to generate and shows you the reason why it failed. So now I've generated again. You can see it has generated the entire timetable for 7, 8, and 9. So let's have, at this point, you can now start adding constraints to the timetable. What do I mean by constraints? What if you want, from what the timetable generated, if you notice, it made English on Monday for year 7, immediately after English double period, they have maths double period, which is not always the ideal thing to do because you need to give students some room to breathe. You combine some hard subjects with some easy one. So if you want to add constraints, maybe on Monday, I want the first period to be math. What I would do is I would go back to the lesson slash activity. I'll look for math or look for maths. Of course, you can filter this list by subject or by class. So look for maths. This is year 7 English. I want year 7 maths. This is year 7 maths. So what I'll do is I'll click on this constraint here and say, remember what I showed you earlier that I said 2 out of 5 means this is the first, this is double period. This is another double period, 2 out of 5, then this is a single period. So if I click on constraint, you have a drop down here, which this view you're seeing identifies the first double period. This is the next double period, then the single period. So I want the first double period to happen. I'm going to select it to happen on a Monday, right? Monday, the first period on Monday. Then the next double period for maths, I want it to happen maybe on Wednesday, the first period on Wednesday. Then the single period of math, I'll select the last one, sorry. Probably it can happen on the fifth period. That's the third period basically, on Friday. And if I generate this, I'm going to update and generate so that we can see the outcome. So once I generate this, let's notice for year 7 maths. Can you notice what I did? On Monday, the first 2 periods is math. Then the second time for math, I set it to be Wednesday. Let me scroll down. You can see on Wednesday, the first 2 period is maths. That's 4. Then the last time for math, I set it to be Friday, the third period. You can see for year 7, math falls on that Friday. So this is how you can set constraints. Then there are some constraints that are not reasonable. So let me show you an example. Still on this math, if I come to year 7, if you notice there's a button here, there's a strict mode, and you can toggle the strict mode either on or off. What it means is if you toggle it on, it means the system must do what you ask it to do. But if you toggle it off, the system would also do what you've asked it to do, just that if the system notices that there is an impossible constraint you've given it to do. Let me give you an idea of an impossible constraint. I want the first double period. What if I set this first double period to happen on the last period on Monday? Do you think this is possible? It's a double period, meaning it needs 2 periods, and you're assigning it to the last period, which is impossible. So if this strict mode is turned on and I update this and try to generate, this is going to fail and give me an error. You can see it failed and brought me to the history where I can see the error. And the error is the duration for the activity, this 2 out of 5 activity for math year 7, is greater than the available period slots from the preferred starting point. What is this telling you? It is telling you that the year 7 maths you try to add this constraint for is a double period, and you're putting it to start at the last period. So there's no time for the other one to take place. So this is an impossible constraint. But if I turn off this strict mode, what it is telling the system is, even if I have made an impossible request, do not throw an error. Use your own intelligence to fit this subject somewhere else, right? So I'm going to click on update and generate. So even if that request is impossible, if you notice the system didn't obey that request by putting maths for year 7, it didn't put it in on Monday at all. Rather, it brought it down to Tuesday. the third and fourth period on Tuesday. That's where it included maths for year seven. And it still maintained the other ones I did, the other constraints I did. So this is basically what it means. So another kind of constraint I would show you is I can come to the constraint tab. When I come here, this is where you can see all the constraints you've added so far. So I can just delete and remove this constraint. So if there are any constraints you don't want to use, you can always come here to see all the constraints you've added and you can remove those you don't need, basically. So if I want to add probably on your timetable, on your period in your school, you have some specific periods that are not academics, they are for activities like club or sports. Probably on Fridays, the last two periods on Fridays are for sports. What you can do is when you come to constraints, you click on add on manage constraints and you click on this drop down and select year group unavailable time. And what you need to do is you want to select the times year group are not supposed to be available. So I'm going to select year 7, 8, and 9. Friday, these last two periods, they are not supposed to have classes. So when the system is generating timetable and generating schedules, it won't fill in anything for these last two periods. So that it's going to leave it blank so that you can add the activity after you're done generating. But if I update and use this now, it won't do it because I've already exhausted all the periods I need. I've exhausted all 35 periods needed for it. But of course, let me generate so we can just see that it's going to throw an error. And the error is because every period, you can see the number of required period for year 7 is 35, but the class have 33 periods available. That is because I removed 2 periods. But already in my lesson slash activity, I've added 35 periods already. Please, Mr. Abraham, the notes you're making on the screen, we are going to take questions later if you're trying to ask anything. Okay, so we are going to, so now we know the error, so I can just remove that constraint because I know the reason. If I want this to work, all I need to do is come to the lesson slash activity and remove any two period from year 7, 8, and 9, and it's going to generate it. So another constraint I would like to show is the teacher's constraints. And what does it do? Teacher's constraints, once you see the list of all your teachers, Sophia, Sophia Rogers takes Spanish, and probably you have some teachers in your school that are not full-time staff. They are, say, probably they are contract staff, and maybe the Spanish teacher comes at certain times. So if I want to control the times that the system should allocate her own subjects to her, I'll click on this free time. And what does free time means? Free time means I want to identify the times this teacher should take her subject. Maybe this particular Sophia that takes Spanish, that is a contract staff, does not come on Mondays. I can remove all Mondays. She's not available to teach on Mondays. Then maybe even if she doesn't teach on Mondays, she does not come in the mornings of Monday. Like the first two periods, she's not available. I can take out all the first two periods. So meaning when the system is assigning her subjects for different classes, it is only going to consider these available periods when she will be available in the school. So if I update this and generate, the system is now going to, if you observe, the system didn't assign any Spanish or French on Monday. All the Mondays are free. You won't see anything Spanish or French. Then you also won't see Spanish or French in the first 3 periods. So where are we seeing Spanish or French? Let me look for where we can see. You can see Spanish or French here. You can see it here. This is the third period, this is the fourth period. So you can see where the system has assigned the subjects. So you can control where the system assigns subjects, basically. So going back to the teacher's constraints, another thing you can also control is you can click on the one I just showed you now is clicking on free period. You can indicate the times you don't want the system to allocate subject to a particular teacher. Then you can also control the workload given to a particular teacher. Say, for instance, John Johnson, I think is either the English or math teacher, so far has 15 period in a week for year 7, 8, and 9. He takes in a week. He takes 15 periods. Maybe I want to limit the amount of period he can take on a particular day. I can click on constraint and you can see minimum daily period and maximum daily period. So I can set this that the minimum daily period for this teacher should be probably, I don't want the teacher to take more than probably 4 periods a day. So that when the system is generating the timetable, the schedules for this particular teacher, it won't, this teacher won't be able to take more than 4 because you don't want to give a teacher a lot of workload in a single day. So this is what helps you minimize the number of workload the teacher does in a day. So once I set this to 4 and I generate, the teacher won't be able to, the system won't assign more than 4 periods in a particular day to that teacher. So you can set the minimum it can assign. Maybe you can set minimum to 2, or you leave minimum totally blank, and you set the maximum to 4 or whatever. Once I update this, the system would put this into consideration for that particular teacher. Then if you also notice, there's also the strict mode on and off here, which means that if this strict mode is on, it is going to follow strictly to the instruction you're giving to it and generate. So if I update this and generate for this teacher, it is going to follow the rules strictly and the teacher won't have more than 4 subjects in a particular day. But let me put an impossible constraint for that teacher. So let's see what happens. Okay, this is the teacher I used. What if I say the minimum for this teacher in a single day, the maximum for this teacher in a single day is 1? How possible is this? Let me update. And the strict mode is turned on. I'm going to update. Once I try to generate, I am sure this is going to throw an error. And let's see the error. You can see it has thrown an error, and I'm just going to come here and click on the error log. So I can see this is the error. The number of required period for John Johnson is 15. So his required period is 15. But the teacher have 5 available periods from week 1 max period. So what it's telling you is you've entered that the maximum number of subjects this teacher can take in a day is 1. And if he does 1 period, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the maximum is 5 he can do. So what happens to the other 10? There's no place for the system to do it, to take it. That's why the generation failed. So if you want to add all of this kind of constraints and you still want the system to generate it, if I come to the constraints, what I told you before about the strict mode, if I put this to strict mode off, what it does is it tells the system if my request is impossible, do it the best way you feel is necessary. So even if I put this impossible constraint and update, but I turn off the strict mode, the system is still going to generate the timetable, basically. Then what else? I think that is if you want to see a place to record all to see all the total number of periods assigned to all classes, you just come to the classes tab and you see all subjects assigned to the classes. So at this point, let's say I'm going to delete this constraint I added. Let's say I want to, okay, before I generate this, let me just add constraint of making math the first subject on Monday for year 7 specifically. So I'm just going to make math first. What you use Wednesday first, then Friday, probably 5th update. So let me generate this so that we can see how the system does the distribution. So far I have shown you the generation of the timetable, how to resolve conflicts if there's any, and how to add your constraints. So let me generate a timetable and export it so you see how the system automatically distributes the timetable. So now I have generated this timetable. You can make adjustments, manual adjustments, and the system also distributes it automatically. So for me to distribute this timetable, remember our schedule here is currently blank. Everything is blank. So I want to put content into the schedule. So I'm going to import this timetable into the schedule. So to import it, let me close this. All you're doing is clicking on imports and you proceed. And the system imports the timetable into your period. So if I go back to the period and reload the period page, let me make this a full screen so we can all see this. So you can see the system has now imported what the timetable are generated into our period. So let me view the timetable for a particular class or for all classes. So you can see this is what the system has generated. You can see for year 7, we did just year 7, 8, and 9. I didn't go further to do 10 and 11. You can see the periods. So let me just check for only year 7. So you can see the timetable. You can also see timetable by teacher. So this is giving you like a broad view for the entire timetable for the whole school. So I can select 7, 8, 9 and filter, and you're seeing the whole timetable analysis that you need to see, the percentage period a particular teacher takes. You're seeing all of this. So this is like a broad view of the entire school timetable. But if you just want to view by class, you can also do that. So now this timetable has been generated. If I want to add an activity, probably clubs, I can manually edit a particular timetable. Let me click on this year 7. So for this, probably no, let me use Wednesday. Maybe on Wednesday, the last period on Wednesday, you do club activity. So if I come down, sorry, hold on. Let me reload the page. Internet. So I'm going to go back here. So on Wednesday, the last period, which is this from 110 to 150, I want to make it say a club activity. Before you can do that, on the timetabler, not the timetabler, on the timetable module, you need to come and create the different activities you do in your school. So you have the section which says manage activities. So you can just click on this and you come here and click on create activity. So let me call this activity club. So I'm going to type club or clubs, and I can give it a color. So I'm just going to pick a color for it. I'll create another activity called swimming. So now I've created these activities. Let me just reload this page so it reflects. So I can now add activities to my schedule. So like I said, for Wednesday, the last period, for Wednesday, I want to change. So I'll edit this. I want to remove this period on Wednesday literature. So I'm just going to click on this X button here. X button means you've marked it to be deleted. So whenever I update this, that is when it deletes. Then I'm going to add, I want to add it an activity. So if you click on this drop down now, you're going to be seeing subject. This is if you want to manually add a subject to the timetable. But what I want to add is an activity. So I'm going to click on this button here, this icon here, to toggle it and switch it to an activity. Now I've clicked on it, and once I click on the drop down, I'll be able to see the club I just clicked and created. So maybe I want to do clubs at the last period on Wednesday. So now I've added it. I'll click on this plus button to add it. Then scroll down and click on updates. So now this has updated. If I view the schedule for year 7, let's see what Wednesday looks like for a year 7 timetable. Filter. So can you see on Wednesday, the last period has been indicated to be club. So you can use the timetable to generate your entire school timetable, but you also have the ability, after it has generated and you export it into your managed schedule, you can still manipulate and manually add things to the timetable. Then let me show you how the system has distributed this timetable. So as this timetable is already here, as you've exported it or imported it into the schedule, the system has already helped you distribute the timetable to your parents, to your students, to the teachers. So if let me log in as a teacher, I'm going to switch to a teacher's dashboard. So this is a teacher's dashboard. If I refresh this page, can you see? This teacher can see she has an upcoming lesson today by 11:10 a.m. to 11:50 for year 7. And she also have year 9 for 12:30 p.m. to 1:10 p.m. So already teachers from their view can see their upcoming lesson. If this teacher wants to see her holistic timetable for the whole week, she can come to the timetable section on her view. Let me just type for timetable and click on my schedules. So once she click on her schedule, she can see her own timetable. So from this, she can see that she has, on Mondays, she have year 7 Spanish. On Tuesday, she has year 9 Spanish. On Wednesday, she doesn't have any class on Wednesday. On Thursday, she has year 8 Spanish and year 7 Spanish, and also year 9 Spanish. So today is Thursday. So if you notice, you didn't see this year 8 Spanish on the upcoming classes when I went to the dashboard because this period has passed. But you can see the year 7 Spanish upcoming and year 9 Spanish. Then this particular teacher is also a class teacher. So class teachers has the ability to see the schedule for their own students, for students in their class, because they are the class teacher. So she can see the entire year 7 timetable. So if you can see how effectively this system has helped distribute the timetable to teachers. Let me log in as a parent so you also have an idea of how the system distributed that as well. So I'm just going to log in as a parent. I'm going to log in as this sample parent. Let's see how parents can also see the timetable of their child. So this parent has a child in year 7. So if the parent selects the parent can see the classes this child currently is. So this parent knows that right now, this child is in literature class. Literature class is 10:30 to 11:10. Once this time passes, this literature goes out of this list of today's schedule, and the parent knows this child is in French class. So that's how the system is eliminating each period as it goes. So this changes every time, every day, and also every period. So once literature class is done, it goes out from this list. So at every point in time, the parent knows the class the child is in, and the parent also have access to view the holistic timetable for the child. So the whole timetable, the parent have access to view every single thing. So also I need to log back in as the admin. So also, what I showed you now, individual schools might have their own peculiarities. So like I said, you can have multiple periods. There's something I didn't show you on the timetable, which is the period group setup, which means that probably in your school, year 7, 8, and 9, the timings for each period is different from year 10, 11, 12. You can come here and under the period group setup, I can come here and say, I'll create a new period group and come here and select probably they'll be using this particular period. Test one will be used by year 10 and 11. So which means that year 7, 8, and 9 is using this period I just created with you, while year 10 and 11 will be using another separate period. So when you're generating the timetable, you can generate timetable for that period separately, and the system still does the distribution perfectly. So it doesn't matter if you have different timing, whatever customization you feel your timetable might have, it has already been captured on the Educare Timetable platform. So at this point, Mr. Botex, I think we can take quick questions if you have questions from the chat.
All right, so I would suggest we start from the chat box. Let's look through the chat box.
Okay, let me
There
go
are a
to
couple of
the.
questions, and I promise them that we attend to it immediately after the walkthrough. So,
Okay, so I'm seeing a question here, although it's the last question on the list.
okay.
Mr. Opeyemi Adejubi said, how do we address tutor A who teaches three subjects from year 7 to 12, also at least two classes offered at, sorry, how do we address tutor A who teaches three subjects from year 7 to 12, okay, also at least two classes offered at least two of her subjects. So it's basically, if I understand your question, Mr. Opeyemi, it's basically the same thing. Remember, I said you need to have this, you need to have this. You said you have a teacher who teaches from year 7 to 12, which is possible. This sample data I used here, you have teachers that take all classes. So all you need to do is you need to be aware of the number of lesson period you have on your period. For this particular sample, the maximum a teacher can take in a week is 35 based on the slots we have here. So if a teacher teaches from year 7 to 12, which is six classes, you need to make sure that as you are distributing the number of period the teacher takes for that subject for each classes, it does not, the summation for everything does not exceed your maximum period based on your period on your timetable. If yours is 45 or 35, the summation does not exceed it. If it exceeds it, although the timetable will alert you that it has exceeded and you can make adjustment, but if you have this done right, you will hardly get any error. So you just need to make sure that all classes, everything still sums up. The teacher takes two subjects. By the time you do all summation, it doesn't exceed the maximum period per week. That's just how you go about it. You can be doing the trial and error on the timetable, and the timetable will let you know that it has exceeded, and you just make an adjustment. I hope that answers the question. Mr.
All
Bote,
right, so at
okay.
this point, we are seeing hands. You can indicate by a raise of hand so that we can make you co-host and then allow you to speak, right?
Okay.
So that you can ask your questions.
So we can bring people up to the call to speak to us directly. So
Yes, yes. So we have a name, we have a hand. Albert Mobia is indicating. All right.
are you bringing the person up?
Yeah, just a moment. Okay, you've been asked to unmute, Albert.
So Mr. Albert, you can unmute and ask your questions, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, loud.
Okay, thank you so much for the lecture. Please, I have two or three questions.
Okay, go ahead.
One, a situation where you have activities, because what you demonstrated here is just activity for one class. Where you have an activity that will cut across all the classes, how would you achieve that? That's
So,
question number one. Then two, um, is there a maximum number of subjects that can be grouped? Is there a maximum number? If, for instance, you have um, 5 subjects, and I have 5 subjects grouped together in one slot. That's question number two. Then finally, can the timetable generated, can it be printed?
okay.
Those are my 3 questions.
Okay, so I think you can stay on the call, please, while I answer the questions, because I don't think I may remember every question. The first one you asked was
Activities.
activities.
Can they cut,
So
if I have activities that will cut across all classes, is it possible to
it's
implement it on the timetable?
it's very possible. So there are two ways to account for things you want to cut across all. So it's either you're adding it as an activity or already you're indicating it when you're generating your period. Say for instance, I wanted to create a period that's okay, let me use this timetable I generated already. I'm going to extend this from 10 to 11 periods per day, right? And maybe on the last period, I'm going to add a non-lesson period and say on period 11, the duration is 20 minutes. I want this period to be study time, study time. So I can, let me just give it a color and update. Let's see what happens when I view the timetable. Let me view the timetable under my schedule for year 7. Oh, sorry, I think I didn't add it. Edit. Oh, it didn't save. Add non-lesson period. 11, duration 20. So the first way, like I said, is to add it here. Last. Sorry, hold on. I think I should just create it separately. Hold on. Okay, so it's not adding it because I've already generated the timetable, the period there. So I'll need to do it again. But the best way is you add that period, the column on this place. You saw how it's showing you this lunch break, snack break, assembly break. That's how you just create that particular column. Are you there? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is one way. Then the second way was the one I showed you on the timetabler, whereby if you've created a place for that, you can just come to under this constraint and just click on manage constraints, select the drop down, year group unavailable time. So, or select all the classes, right? And say on this day, don't assign any period when
Okay.
generating. So by the time it
Okay.
has generated it, it's going to be blank. And by the time you've exported it and you come to the manage schedule, you can now come and add the schedule the activity yourself that you've created. I don't know if that is clear. So those are the
It's
two
clear.
different ways.
Yes.
Okay, what's the next question, please?
Second question is about subject groupings. Is there a maximum number of subjects one can group?
No, you can have a whole lot of group as you want. And when you're doing it, you can do it either all year groups or a particular class. It doesn't matter. So you can have a whole lot, as many as you want. You can have a group that is geography and history, another group that is geography, French, different groups based on how you've grouped it in your school.
Okay. Okay.
And the last question.
But finally, can we print the timetable?
Yes, you can. Am I still logged in as a parent or students? So if you go to the timetable, everybody can print the timetable. You can see the export button here. Let me click on it. You can see it has exported it to PDF.
Okay.
So you can print it. Any other questions?
That's all.
Jill Cowie, your hand has been up. So I'm going to
Okay,
ask.
so thank you, Mr. So let's take another question.
Okay, Jill, I can't find your hand anymore, but I can see Akim Pelu.
If you want to come on the call to ask the direct question, just raise your hand.
Akim Pelu, you've been asked to unmute.
Sorry, hold on. I think I'm seeing Mr. Botes, can you unmute Jake Hoy?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Please, I
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Jill, just give a minute so that we'll take Daniel. After Daniel,
Okay.
come on. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Daniel, please go
I
ahead.
want to ask, now, is it possible for each subject to come with a corresponding teacher so that whenever anybody enters a class, then we know the name of the particular teacher that's supposed to take such subject?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Let's say, for instance, after printing the timetable, after printing the timetable, then you want the students to know the name of the
Okay,
teacher.
you want the teacher's name to be indicated.
To appear, yes.
Okay, that can be added.
How?
No, it can easily be added. Remember, it's an ERP solution, so it's depending on what you want.
Okay.
So we can just add it. So it will be an option. So under the subject's name, in brackets, you see the teacher's name there.
Classroom as well, because we obviously have more than one English or maths classroom.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
You have more than one person for English and maths. Is that what you said?
I would like, as well as the teacher's name, thank you. You asked one of my questions. I would also like to see the classroom, because we might have more than one English classroom, more than one maths classroom. And it's very important the kids go to the right room. So can we put the teacher's name and the classroom on the timetable?
Okay, you want to also have provision for the location of where the class is.
Yes, please.
Okay, we can work on that as well for your school.
The budget in that field, one package for over 200,000.
Sorry? Hello? Did someone say something?
No, that's wasn't part of the discussion. All right. Do we have any? Okay, Kazim Momo, your hand is up. Do you have a question? I'm sorry. Would that be all for now, Jill?
Mr.
No, a few questions, but I don't want to take everybody's time, if that's okay. I think some of it I'll probably get from playing with it. I think a few people were asking this on the chat. I used to use ManageBack, and what I could do is go in and set up the day, but I could get my teachers to then add their own timetable so that it took less administration time. Is this only done under admin, or can teachers go in and then add their individual timetable by themselves?
No, this is strictly done by any admin. Not teachers. Teachers don't, unless you're taking their inputs, because the main thing you need to generate the timetable is to know the number of periods that particular teacher can. So you can take their own consents. Like, I think the input you need from your teachers is like how many number of periods should they take in a day, and you can set
I'm
up
not
those
using
constraints.
this, sorry, I don't want to waste your time. I'm not using this to generate the timetable. I'm actually have generated my timetable on ASC because it's what I'm more familiar with. What I want to do is just add it into Educare so we can use it obviously for class-to-class registers. So what I'm asking is if my teachers have their timetable and I set up the class period.
We need to mute person talking. Okay, go ahead, no?
So if I can set up the school day for them, can my teachers then go in and add their own classes under their name, or does it all have to be done by the administrator? Because we're not using this to make our timetable. We're making the timetable on ASC. We've already done that. We just want to take that information and put it into Educare. Does that make sense?
So basically, you want to use our system to distribute the timetable you've generated already to all
Yes.
teachers and parents. Well, it's something you can do. It's something you can do.
Can teachers do it, or does an administrator have to do it?
It's an admin that has to do it.
Okay, that's fine. Then the other things I had, I'll be really quick, is I obviously have, you showed me how to do this. I have different period times, different breaks, different lunches across secondary, Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 1. I noticed that you put this under secondary school. If I have teachers who teach across those 3 different phases and I want to avoid clashes, am I better doing this as one whole timetable? If I do it as 3 separate high school, Key Stage 2, Key Stage 1, I take it that those timetables don't speak to each other and therefore you would have to block out teachers to avoid clashes. Is that correct?
So if I understand your question, in cases of teachers that teach across different schools, like for
different phases of the school with different time periods.
Okay, no, the system can still take accounts. We can make it speak across the different schools, so it identifies the teacher.
So if I had a secondary timetable, a Key Stage 2 timetable and a Key Stage 1 done separately under because you had this under high school, correct?
Yes.
Those 3 timetables could talk to each other.
Yes, we can make them talk to each other.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, I've got one more and I'm really sorry, everybody. You talked about groups, and obviously you've got different subjects in the groups that can have a different teacher, different classroom. How do we allocate? Because obviously it's not the whole class. If it's an option within Key Stage 4, how do we select which students go into French, which students go into Spanish?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Okay, I've got a group the same as yours, French and Spanish.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not my whole year 10 that are taking, some are taking French, some are taking Spanish. How do I select the students for the French part and the Spanish part?
Oh, that is done from so when the system, on the timetable, they see they have French or Spanish at this time. So the French students already know that they're going for French, and the Spanish already knows they're going for Spanish.
Yeah, but that doesn't help me with my teacher doing their timetable. Because how do we allocate within the year 10 which ones should be in his class for French and which ones should be in his class for Spanish, so we can take individual registers for those 2 subjects?
You do it from the subject allocation. So which is here. Let me just go there.
Thank you.
So under the subject allocation, you have every teacher has their class list. So for the Spanish teacher, what she does is she selects the students she teaches that subject. So
Okay.
I'm doing this from the admin. So for Spanish, this is where you select your students. If you take a particular student, you untick them and you say. So you only accept people you teach. So the Spanish teacher will only accept students that take Spanish.
That makes sense. It's the same as Manage Back. Thank you. I just wanted to see how that worked. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Kazim, we have a hand up, Kazim. Kazim, your audio is distorted, please. We can barely hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I said the previous person actually asked my question, but I'm not okay with the answer. I wanted it modeled out for us how, when in a situation where we have different break time, different periods for key stage 1, key stage 2, and you have teachers who have to move from key stage 1 to key stage 2, teaching across, how do we do the timetable? Is it doable? And how do we do it? For instance, break times they are different, and teaching periods are overlapping, and we have teachers who are teaching key stage 1, key stage 2. So how do we do it to avoid clash of periods?
Okay, so key stage 1 is like year 1 to 4, right? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so key stage 1 is like year 1 to year 4, then they're using
Year 1 and 2.
Year 1 and 2, then the other one. So let me just model it out for you so you be clear on it. So let's go back to, we'll just do something quickly within 5 minutes. So I'll create a new period and I'll call this key stage 1, right? And add. And I'm just going to use, I'm just going to generate a random period here. So you just have an idea of how it works. Hold on, let me use the guide I had. So let's say for key stage 1, when I'm generating a period for them for Monday through Friday, total periods per day, I'll say 10. The period starts at 7:50, 40, 0, add non-lesson period, assembly. Oh, after period 0, duration 20, 0, 0, period name, assembly. So I'll add another one. This is after period 3, duration 20 minutes, 0, 0. Okay, then the last non-lesson period is lunch. After period 7. So now I have created this for KS1, sorry. I can create a new one, another period for KS2. And let's make some adjustments. Probably KS2, they don't take break, they don't do assemblies in the morning. So I'll set this to, let me just set it to 10. period starts at, let me make the period to start at 8 on the dot. The lecture period, I won't make it 40, I'll make it probably 30 minutes. Period overlap time, 0. I'll just add just short break and long break after period 5, after period 3. Duration is 20 minutes. 0, 0, short. And the long break, I'll just do probably after period 7. It's 40 minutes. So now I have generated 2 separate periods, KS1 and KS2, right? So if I come to this place, the timetable setup, and I come to period group setup, let me enlarge this. So what I'm going to do is, I'm using high school for this example because I only have high school installed here currently. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to assign year 10. No, let me close, let me add a new one. I'm going to KS1 will be used by year 7 and 8. Great. Then deleted that one. Then KS2. There's no need to even assign KS or make KS the other KS2 period the default from this general setup. So KS2 is the default. So let's see the outcome. If I come to the timetable and go to the manage schedule, I'll open this in a new tab. Oh, it's open in a new. So just observe what you're going to see. I made KS2 the default. This is KS2. Let me view the timetable in a grid version. Are you seeing how it is? Remember KS2, there is no, and this is strictly for year 9 and year 10. You can see it. There is no assembly, and it has its own timing. So if I want to see that this KS2 period you're seeing here is strictly for year 9 and 10 and 11. You're not seeing any other classes here. If I want to see the one for KS1, which I assigned to 7 and 8, you can see it. I can just switch between the 2 periods. I don't know if this answered your question. Sorry, Mr. Botex, is this still?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, so.
Is still unmuted? No, the person that asked the question.
No.
I think we should unmute him so we are sure he's clear. He should come on.
If he can indicate by a raise of hand.
If you can indicate, let's be sure that this is clear. All
right, so
okay,
we have
that's a question. You can stay on the call.
So while we are waiting for him, we'll allow Mr. Nams Friday to speak.
Okay.
Mr. Nams, please go ahead. If you're speaking, we can hear you, please.
You need to unmute first.
It's already unmuted.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Actually, I want to thank the Educare team for this platform. We hope it will resolve the complexity in timetabling. However, I would like to know if two subjects can be taken or scheduled using the system within a given period. For instance, we have 3 subjects that are taken at the same time, where you have some students taking, let's say, data processing, others are taking catering crafts, and some are taking dye and ambulation at the same time. It could be first period, but a section of a particular class is going for data processing. A section of that same class is going for catering crafts, and a section of that same class is going for dye and ambulation at the same time. So can this platform help us to achieve that in timetable? That's number 1. Number 2, where we have, let's say, chemistry and commerce, we do this combination in order to utilize time. So arts and science subjects together, let's say chemistry and commerce, within a particular period in SS2 or SS1. Is it possible? Can this platform also help us to achieve that? These are the questions.
Sorry, can you repeat the last question again, please? The last question.
Pardon?
Can you help me repeat the last question again? The last question you just
Okay,
asked.
the last question. I said, if we want to fix 2 subjects in different departments, arts and science, at the same time, chemistry and commerce.
Okay.
Let's say first period in SS1. That first period in SS1 takes both chemistry and commerce. The science students are going for chemistry. The art students are going for commerce, or the commercial students are going for commerce at that instance. Can this platform help us to achieve that?
Yes, it can. So the 2 questions you asked, everything is handled still under the subject grouping. So like I said, on this subject group, you can create as many groups as you want, merging subject across different departments and as many as you want. All you need to, sorry, not period group, the subject group. You can create as many groupings you want to create and different subject combinations. The main thing is on the timetabler, that is when you're selecting which of the group you want to use. I don't know if you got that, Mr. Friday.
Can you go over it again, please?
So I'm saying on the setup, you can create a different combination of groups you want to use, like history and science, just any kind of grouping you want to have. The main thing is when you come to the timetabler and you want to add schedules to the timetable. When you want to add lessons, sorry. If I click on new lesson, for instance, and I have created a lesson called, sorry, I think let's make it practical. So can you give me an example of a group?
Okay, let's take the first question. I mentioned data processing.
Is it a group?
It's because it belongs to a group. Let me say we have data processing.
The subjects. Okay, let me just show you. So the grouping you're talking about, is it specific to a particular class or all classes?
Specific to senior classes, S1.
Okay, so if I want to,
10, 11, 12.
let me show you an example. If I want to create a group, for instance, I'll select a particular class, right? I'll add a new group. I'm selecting, let me use year 10. I'll add a new group for year 10, and then I call this science. And in this science, I'll add biology, chemistry, physics. I can create another group and call it something. Let me just give it group 12, and I can still combine probably biology and geography to be in this group, right? Then when I am making on the timetabler, if I want to use this on the lesson, when I want to generate activity, I can come here and select that group. I can scroll down and just search for the name. Science and group 12. If I select, I don't even need to type science. If I just search for biology, it will show me biology as an individual subject and also the different groups biology belongs to, right? So if I want to use this particular group that is a combination of biology and geography, I'll select it because it must happen together. What classes is this? You know, we did it to just be year 10. I'll select year 10. So how many times do they do this combination in a week? You select it. Is it twice a week single or the combination, and you just add it? And that's the information the system used to generate it. I don't know if this is clear.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Okay, on the chat, I think we will take Mr. Botex.
Have you seen Modupe? I think it's related to Mr. Nams.
And the system, Mr. Botex, let's take a particular chart. I just saw. Can the system handle? I'm trying to look for it. Say, can the system handle? Okay, can the system handle the situation where subjects are being taught at the same time with different teachers? Example, trade subjects. So a teacher can be in different classes at the same time. So that is more like an impossible, so you can't be in different locations as a teacher at the same time. So you can't say a teacher has English now and math now, unless those things are assigned to different teachers. So a teacher can separate themselves, unless the question, Mrs. Modupe, I don't know if you can come on to ask in case you want to clarify the question. Mr. Botex, I don't know if you can bring her on.
All right, Mrs. Modupe, are you here? I'd like to ask you to unmute. Okay, so you've been asked to unmute.
So Mabel Uti is raising hands. Mr. Botex, you can unmute Mabel so that we can take her while waiting.
Okay, Mabel is here.
Okay.
Right. You've been asked to unmute.
Hello,
Yes, I can
can you hear me?
Yes,
so I wanted to ask, because you just mentioned something in the question where you said a teacher cannot be in different classes at the same time. So my school, we have what we call French Viva. So now this French Viva happens in key stages by key stages. So let's take key stage 2, we have 3, 4, 5, right? And she's supposed to have those classes at once. How are we going to fix that into the the timetable?
So are you saying the members of the different classes come together into a single class?
Yes, come together, yes, into a single class for that particular class. So that's to say that that French Viva has to reflect on year 3 timetable, year 4 timetable, and year 5 timetable as well.
Okay, then if that is a use case, we can add that on your own platform to make it possible. We actually just deactivated that feature because what we use is individual classes. Each classes is happening. No, there's no mixture of different classes happening together, but it's something we can enable.
Okay, let's get more questions.
We need to be rounding up, Mr. Botex. It's 9 minutes above the time we scheduled. So if we have more questions, let's ask. If not, Mr. Botex, you can round up.
Yeah, we have a hand up, Ruben, before we conclude.
All right.
Hello? Good everyone.
Hello, Mr. Ruben.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I want to appreciate the Educare for the work done, and I believe that the new update and the add-up of that is the timetable may not be very much complete or very much perfect now until we have to play around and look at it and give people feedback. Then if there is a place to make adjustment, we can also make adjustments. Some of the questions I wanted to have, you raising up my hands, I wanted to ask, I think most of them have been attended to, but I want to also suggest, since I have a platform, let me suggest something on the platform, that is the Educare page total that we have been using. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Where we had add row, which a user have to add a row, which you have different row you add, and I want to suggest on that area if we can add a password, a security whereby if someone log in and you want to go into a role that is added to you, like admin or
Sorry,
any
Mr.
other
Ruben, this
role.
is strictly for the timetable, not the permission on Educare.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I think at this point, we'll have to conclude. And don't forget, this very timetable is available on your portals for use. All right. And also remember, you have the help desk where you can always ask questions. And then for those who said the session is lengthy, I've seen your charts you dropped. Remember that there'll be a recording. So you can take your time and go through the video to understand it clearly. And if you still have questions, please do not hesitate to make use of the help desk. All right. So it's been a truly interesting and insightful session. Thank you all for joining us today.
Sorry, Mr. Botex, it's also important to let them know the recording is going to be on our YouTube page. It's going to be uploaded later today. So you can go to the YouTube page to look at it.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Henry, for that update. So as we gear up for the next academic session, we are excited to announce that our next webinar will be spotlighting another powerful Educare ERP model. That will be admissions and inquiry. And that's just the beginning. So in the coming weeks, we'll also be diving into key modules like library, finance, HR, and many more, all designed to help your school unlock new levels of efficiency and excellence. So our goal is simple: to guide you in using Educare more effectively so you can optimize operations and deliver even greater value in the new session. So we've rolled out all these several powerful new features. We know most of you might not be aware of it, and we can't wait to show them to you. So stay tuned for the date and registration for the next webinar, which is up next week. Until then, keep exploring Educare, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.